So, g'day everyone, DJ Darks here. I just wanted to check in for another 2DX Couch Chat session. And today's topic is about progression in the game. So, what is progression? It basically is when you improve on certain aspects of the game. It doesn't have to be one thing, it's not just like the ultimate goal. Like, there's different ways that you can progress in 2DX. And it's interesting because you see a good variety of players here in Japan and in Australia, just with how people progressed and like the routes that they've taken. And you really see a lot of diversity through the game, just through the people's choices on how to progress through and tackle the game. So I wanted to talk about progression a little bit today from my perspective, what I think is the best way to approach the game in order to get better faster. I mean, obviously, I've been playing for 10 years and there's people who have been playing for 4 or 5 years who are just as good as I am. And I want to know the reason. I'm like, what? Hang on. So I've been playing longer than these guys, but they're already better than me. Why? How? And I'm guessing that it's just coming down to their approaches of progression. It really solely relies on how they tackled the game. Now, I just wanted to highlight some points with progression. Progression is something which most people do tackle the right way, I do think. Like, most people take it in the right direction, but a lot of people sort of tend to stagnate towards the end. So at the start, I'm going to go from beginners to advanced with progression. At the start, everyone should be starting obviously in beginner mode. You should be familiarizing yourself with the keys, where the keys are, all the spacing. It's all very rudimentary stuff. You don't really need to focus on progressing there. You just got to start learning the game. I'm taking most of these assumptions off watching My-chan play, because My-chan, obviously in a handful of weeks managed to get to 5s, which I thought was ridiculous. So what's really important with progression is mainly challenging yourself. The main thing which you want to do is try and set a bar a bit higher than what you'd expect you can achieve. Now, the thing which made Mai really improve is that she grinded, and she grinded Call for like 3 hours to clear it. And this is Call Normal, like the level 1 song. She grinded the song for so long just to clear it. So, I mean, grinding works. Grinding is good, but it's not the most efficient way for progression. The most efficient way that I found, and this was applied to Mai, was just trying to attain more variety in what you're playing. I mean, it's not DDR where you're going to play the same 3 songs over and over. Like, you'd see people who could clear Paranoia, whatever it was, Paranoia Survivor, that they could only get a D on like an 8 or something like that, which just makes no sense. Like, and you see that here in Japan. You see players who, they can hard clear Mei, but they can't like AAA some of the 10s. It's just mind-blowing, and it all just comes down to this progression thing. So, going back to Mai, as I said, she got to 5s within a period of a few weeks. And the reason why is because she kept playing different charts. She kept playing stuff which, she didn't know, or she wanted to experience, because she hadn't played it. And the more she sort of took in from all of those songs, the more she improved, without her even realizing it. Like, she'd be constantly failing a song, and after going off playing 20 new songs, she'd come back and she'd either vastly improve her scores, or she would, clear it when, a few hours ago she wouldn't be able to do it. So it's just that sort of perseverance with trying to have variety, which I think is important. It's that main fact that I want people to think here. Like, you don't want to just focus on one thing. I want to use an example here. I mean, imagine that you're working in something like, I don't know, a restaurant, right? And they've just hired you. And they say, okay, great, you're the new guy. We're going to stick you on washing dishes for the first, week or so. And then you go, oh, okay, that's cool. So, I'm getting some fundamentals. But then, as time goes on, you wash dishes for the week and they say, oh, look, we're really busy. We can't really afford to put you on as like a main staff and train you at the moment. So we're just going to leave you washing dishes. So you stay there, you're washing dishes for weeks on end, and don't get me wrong, you'll be really fucking good at washing dishes, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get the experience to do the other things in the restaurant, Like, you won't be able to cook, you won't be able to serve, you've never been experiencing these things. Like, they've shown you how to do it once or twice, but they never let you do it, okay? That's the same thing with 2DX. If you just play certain things a little bit, and you don't focus on them, you're not going to improve, okay, overall. And that's the thing, like, with 2DX, it's the same concepts. You've got scratching, you've got charge notes, you've got rolls, you've got jacks, you've got density. So many factors which, make up a song. And, a lot of people have weaknesses in one or the other areas. And the main reason for that is you're simply just not diversifying yourself enough. You just need to play more stuff. You need to play as much different, as many different patterns as you can without just focusing on one thing. So for example, playing Quasar, playing LED and others, playing, I don't know what else is really just like straightforward. If you're just playing straightforward, streamy stuff all the time, you're never going to develop the skills for scratching, you're never going to develop the skills for jacks. They're things that you need to focus on. Like, you need to play as much variety as you can, and at a level where you probably don't think you can do it. And that's the thing. Like, when you're motivated, you will not get down when you fail something. You're like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting to do it anyway. But if you do clear it, you go, oh my god, I did something new, I did something better. So, focusing on that at the start is really important. Okay, so that's around like the 7, 8, 9, possibly 10 range. You want to just be really pushing it out. There's so much content in 2DX in that part, like in that difficulty range, that you should have no problem finding new stuff. Like, with Tricoro, you're looking at over 500 songs, and that's insane. Like, having 500 different songs in difficulty range means you can progress incredibly fast. Whereas back when I started, there was not nearly as much variety. You just had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7 was this mysterious dark bracket where everything is either impossible or everything is just like not very well planned out. It was a really steep curve back in the past, whereas now you have a really neat line of progression that you can take. So advancing through 2DX now is a lot simpler than it used to be. Now, the other thing I wanted to focus on was progressing once you get to around level 10s. And I wanted to take another example here. There's a player in my region named Jay-Chan, and Jay-Chan is a 10th Dan player. He's pretty good, okay? He's one of my rivals, but I will hands down beat him all the time. And there's a reason for this. When we battle mainly on level 10s. And the reason why we battle on level 10s is because his timing is insane on level 10s. However, once you get up to level 11, around mid-level 11, his scores drop drastically, whereas mine are still increasing. They're around the same level as my level 10 scores. And the reason for this is not because Jay-Chan's a bad player, but it's obvious that he doesn't focus on difficult songs. And obviously, it's a big push to try and get better at those difficult songs. It takes years to do it. But when it comes to the end game of 2DX, I would not recommend grinding nothing but 12s. Okay, this is a big problem which I see a lot of people have around this time, where they get into entry level 12s, they're moving their way up the ranks, and all they do is play 12s. And they get frustrated, they get burnt out, they're like, oh my god, I fucking suck at this game. And it's around this time I tell them, look, take a break. But also, I try and tell them, look, 2DX is not just 12s. It's not about just playing level 12s, level 12s are not the be-all and end-all of the game. You should not have all of your focus on songs in that difficulty bracket. You should diversify, okay? Play things which are easier, but have the same components as that level 12 song. So, for example, if you have something like the Sampling Paradise, right? The Sampling Paradise is a pretty diverse 12. It's got most elements of 2DX in it. So if you're finding that really hard and you're like, holy shit, I can't do all of the parts of it, find songs which are similar in a bracket below and focus on those, because it's got the same techniques in it. It's just not as difficult. Don't feel bad about it. It's just practicing the same stuff on a difficulty lower. It's just diversifying out from just playing the same chart over and over. So for something like Sampling Paradise, I'd say, okay, go back and play Sick. Go and play Sick like a few times, because Sick's got very similar sort of concepts behind it. Or play something like, I don't know, there's not many things that are similar to Sampling Paradise. It's a beautiful chart. But what I'd recommend is don't just focus on the high difficulties. Diversify out. Play lower difficulties with similar skill sets in them. And on that same topic, don't just focus on the one skill set. Focus on other things. Like, if you're getting burnt out from playing dense 11s, play scratching songs, play charge note songs. It's another area which you need to work on. If those are like not too difficult, then work on songs with rolls. Play stuff like The Hope of Tomorrow, or play something like Feel It, things with rolls, so that you get better at rolls. The thing about 2DX is, when people say, I'm getting really burnt out on X difficulty, it's probably because you're focusing on one area, not just like the game as a whole. There's so much in the game that you can focus on. And I think the biggest thing which helps with progression is not focusing so much on scoring. That's the final point I want to make. When you have to choose between scoring and clearing when you're starting and you're trying to progress, don't keep score in mind. Keep your consistency in mind, and keep your clear rate in mind. Don't focus so much on the score, because once again, back to the dishwasher example. If you can wash dishes amazingly, whoop-de-fucking-do. There's a person who can do your job better and more, because he's diversified and he's practiced everything in that kitchen. So, same thing with 2DX. Focus on just having a larger repertoire of skills, not just one type. Because that's when you start to mesh everything together and it all starts to make sense and your consistency goes up. And when your consistency goes up, timing will follow automatically after that. So that's just the main points I wanted to make today. Thank you very much for watching. A lot of this stuff is really reiterating facts from DJ Ree's advice blog, which I will link in the description below. Once again, thank you very much for watching. If you like my stuff, please subscribe to my YouTube or Twitch. But that's it for now. See ya. So now I want to open up discussion. I want to know what you guys think about my little rant about progression. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think there's some points which I should elaborate on? Are there any direct questions that you guys want to ask about it? I just wanted to put my 2 cents out there of, you need diversity. You need to not just focus on one difficulty bracket. You need to focus all across. Okay, so Phoenix has just said he thinks the exact opposite way to me. Now I'm interested to see what you mean by that, because I want to know what's happened with you. With progression for me, I found the best way was to just do something until, don't focus on the one thing. Do as many things as you can to get better. What's the highest score you can get is with an FC? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Honestly, when I think of people who focus on timing, I think of J-Chun, who've just focused on timing, and when it comes down to the really difficult songs, because they haven't played them enough, they really fall down. His consistency on 12s is terrible just because he never really focused on it too much. And yeah. Well, that being said and done, I don't know. it's a very complex issue looking at timing and comboing. Like, there's two very valid arguments on both sides. Like, Don brought up the point, if you can see someone who can full combo a chart or clear it better than someone who can score it, it shows that they can comprehend the chart better. But I agree with you in the fact that, if you can't time it so much and you just unmitter your way through it, then you're not really testing skill. Like, you're mastering mash patterns then, and you're not really reading and following the notes. So there's two very valid arguments to it. When I talk about comboing and consistency, I also mean don't just mash your way through it. I'm talking like actually actively trying to hit the notes. And like, I found when I was around the 10s range, getting double A's and stuff like that, I found that like just trying to hit the harder patterns led to my timing going up automatically. I didn't even notice it. Well, okay, yeah, I know what you're trying to say. It's just, my comboing's terrible too, because I mainly just focused on doing harder patterns and then I focused on timing. I'm just saying, like, when you're progressing, like, you're at a level now where clearing isn't too much of an issue for you. You've cleared the whole game, so, focusing on timing is no problem. But for people who are trying to progress up, and this is the thing, like, it's aiming to get players better out of that mindset of, well, I'm going to be stuck at levels 11 and 10 and whatever. It's just trying to broaden yourself and push yourself a little bit further. And I think, timing is important. It is very, very important. It's just that example that I used throughout the video where I said you've got to, focus on a variety of things in order to get better. I think that's the most important thing, because, as I said, if you can time something, like, if you can time really well on one aspect of the game, it doesn't mean that you're going to time well across the whole game. Like, you need to focus yourself out on more aspects. And that's the thing which I was trying to say when I was trying to think of you as an example there when it came to, like, Colourful Cookie. When you broke the mid-12 wall, and then you went back, and you started playing a whole bunch of 10s and 11s to focus on your timing and consistency. You went back and you AAA Colourful Cookie. Like, I totally agree with that. That's what I was trying to say when I said, going from Sampling Paradise back a few difficulties to something like Sick, or something like, that's the other one I was trying to think of. It's 7 whatever. God, I can't remember names. It's that one from Linkle with charge notes in it. Like, It's just good to go back, visit those aspects of the game in an area where you can not just focus on trying to hit the notes, but just timing it. It's also a really, really good thing. So, I'm not trying to disagree with you. Like, I agree with you entirely. I'm just, like, for this video, trying to talk about climbing the difficulties, not so much as, trying to time. Timing is important, but I would put Krelian's mindset first on clears before timing, because Zythar focused on clears, Zythar focused on timing, trying to AAA like light 7s, and I focused on clears. And I got so much better than Zythar in like a month period, just because I kept pushing up, whereas he didn't. And it's just a matter of constantly challenging that. And, at this level, like clearing high 12s level, obviously then you've really got to focus on timing, because timing will help with consistency. So it's a bit of a switch. That was what I was trying to say. At the start, you want to be pushing, but once you reach the 12 point, you want to flip your aspect. So you want to focus more on timing then, because that's when you'll start pushing through walls. And obviously the fact which I didn't mention in the video, which is a terrible thing to do, is that everyone is different. Everyone is completely different, like everyone gets their own enjoyment out of the game. I gave the same advice to someone years ago, and they said, look, I don't really care about getting a hell of a lot better. I just want to enjoy the game for what it is. And I completely accepted that. I said, yeah, it's everyone's game. I can't tell you how to play a game. It's a game. You get your own enjoyment out of it. So, ultimately I just wanted to give advice or start up a discussion where we can talk about these issues, because a lot of people say, oh, why can't I do X? Why can't I do Y? It's a very simple thing where you just haven't had enough experience, like especially charge notes. And oh god, I forgot to mention random. Maybe I shouldn't cut the video where I was gonna cut the video. I might post this whole thing just because it's not that long. So on top of that, on top of what I was saying to you, Matt, random is probably the most important thing once you hit around level 10. So around level 10 is that point where patterns start to feel really samey, and like a lot of the variety starts to disappear. I mean, just because a lot of patterns use base on 1, a lot of patterns use scales, and a lot of patterns just, I don't know, like playing on random feels a bit strange now. Like it all just feels very samey, whereas if you play on random, it's that same concept of diversifying. You know, you're looking at more than one pattern. You're expanding the number of patterns that you're experiencing and trying to hit. So what actually happens is you start to familiarize yourself with stuff you wouldn't have seen otherwise, and you start to hit better. And this applies not just to regular patterns, especially charge notes. I know so many players who are like, oh, I don't want to play charge note songs on random because it's just dumb and it doesn't make any sense. But that's the point. That is the main point of having random, you know. It's to diversify yourself. It's to be able to hit those notes. Do you see top ranking players not play those charge note songs on random? No, they always play them on random because it doesn't matter. It's just like hitting everything else in the game because you've got the experience of doing it. So random is so necessary for progression once you hit around level 9 or 10. Like, before that, it doesn't matter. You're still learning the game. You're just familiarizing yourself. Seeing the same patterns is good because you're not going to get yourself burnt out on playing them. Whereas once you hit that point where things start to get a little bit more complex, then yeah, you need to have random. Random is so essential. Anyways, for a serious note, is there anything else that people want to cover? Anything else? Right, I don't think that anybody else is going to answer or write anything because there's very few people watching at the moment, but yeah, I just wanted to make a video on progression. I've covered the main points I wanted to cover, and thankfully because of Phoenix opening up the discussion a bit more, I managed to get more points out there than I originally planned to. So thanks for doing that, Phoenix, and yeah, once again, thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for participating in this, and tomorrow 6 p.m. I'm going to do my interview with DJ Rhea, so make sure that you guys tune in for that because I reckon that's going to be really fantastic. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. It's a really short one, but yeah, it's really good to hear your feedback on this sort of stuff, and if you've got any additional things to say, don't forget to message on YouTube, and don't forget to add your 2 cents. I really like hearing what players have to think about this. And to answer that final question, I live in Toyohashi, Japan. It's central Japan. It's east of Nagoya, which is like the absolute central city, by about an hour. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. As I said before, make sure that you subscribe and hit that like button and all that stuff. And yeah, I will see you later.